Joel Embiid appeared to have shushed the crowd in Philly on Sunday after hitting a three-pointer against the Bulls. Remember, they had been booing him earlier in that game. Afterward, Embiid said, no, he was frustrated with himself, not the crowd. I don't know if anyone bought it. So last night, Embiid posted a photo of his shh with a caption, "You either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become a villain." And if that wasn't spicy enough, his former teammate, Jimmy Butler, who resides in, Miami now, replied, quote, "I know a place where villains are welcome." To which Embiid responded, "Damn right, my brother." And finally, Embiid took to Twitter for a little damage control, quote, "Made for this. If I can take it, then you can too. Philly tough, all love." There you go. Fizz, you spent 9 years as part of the Heat coaching staff. Do you think Pat Riley and and Eric Spoelstra are in favor of Jimmy recruiting Joel Embiid?
Absolutely. Are you kidding me? I almost cursed on air. Yeah, absolutely he is. Now, I don't know how happy Adam Silver is with him doing that underlying recruitment, but at the end of the day, I know that he would love to have a guy like that. Who wouldn't?
It is mental warfare, Rachel. That's basically what this is. And yeah, Pat and Spo are sitting back going, this is interesting, and this man knows. So I do think it's funny. I was listening to Keith Pompeo, the Philadelphia Inquirer. He's got a podcast for the Sixers, and he's covered the Sixers for a really long time. And he said, Jimmy's in the organization's head right now. Jimmy knows exactly what he's doing, that he controls both locker rooms. He's controlling the Heat locker room and the Sixers locker room right now.
That's amazing.
And for anecdotal evidence, late last night in San Francisco, Jimmy is walking over to the shower going, ha, the villain. Yeah. The villain is here. Yeah. So he knew exactly what he was doing. He's got a close relationship with Joel, and I'm sure they'd love to be together again, but there are a lot of different dominoes that would have to fall.
And I do agree with Joel. It goes both ways, fans to players, players back to fans. You got to be able to take it to fans when you got to shut your mouth a little bit.
Well, especially that town, right? That town is willing to. They gave it to Santa Claus. Let's not forget that.
Oh, man, I've seen them rip apart some of the greats. So, if a guy gives it a little bit back to him, they can take it. So.
I mean, look,
for sure.
Both Joel and Jimmy have told me we text every day. I mean, they are super close still. And when the teams played each other, was it about a week ago? The Heat won by 30. I mean,
might have been Jimmy's best game of the year.
Yeah, 38 points.
There were some conversations.
In 3 quarters, by the way.
And the Heat were here in Los Angeles after that, and talking to a couple players around the locker room, they said, man, we were just like the Sixers didn't want it. Like, here we were about to have this Eastern Conference showdown, and the Sixers didn't want it, which I think is a feeling some fans have felt, and then players obviously frustrated too. I want to run back a quote from Sixers GM Elton Brand. This is from Friday, right after the trade deadline. Take a listen.
I believe in this group. We have the best record at home in the NBA, and I know we're more of that team than what we've seen recently. I believe in this group, but make no mistake, we're disappointed in how we've played lately. We're disappointed, and we all have to work to fix that.
So I thought his comments were particularly interesting because he's coming out after the trade deadline, and they did add some bench shooting, so they did tinker a little bit. But he's basically saying we can do better with this personnel. Absolutely. So do you think the Sixers' problems are fixable beyond any personnel X and O issues?
It's not personnel, it's personalities. And I really believe when those two pillars, Ben and Embiid, really decide to say, I'm going to give up a part of myself to make you better. Because that's the only way it's going to work, is when both of them decide that they're going to just give up a little piece of themselves to help the group, to help that next guy. That's when they'll take off. But they got the talent. I don't want to hear about that they don't fit. That's crap, because Joel Embiid can pick and pop and do a lot of different things while Ben Simmons is on the floor making plays. So I just think it's personality.
Do you feel bad for Brett Brown? Because he's the one who's really been taking a lot of heat recently.
Well, you always feel, as a coach, I always empathize. And Brett is one of the better coaches in this league. People don't understand. This guy is a motivator. He's a tactician. And now he's having to glue together, these stars and these different pieces. And I think Brett is the guy for the job. He's the one that can get them over the hump. But it's a battle when you're talking about people. You're not just talking about a strategy or X's and O's. You're talking about personalities and people and trying to get them to understand how they help each other and how that's also going to help themselves.
See, I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's personalities clearly at times can conflict, right? We've seen that. but I do think it's personnel. And I think that Elton Brand maybe tried to correct that. And yes, he's right. They have a great home record, but they have the worst road record of any of the current playoff teams at the moment. And that's not a good sign for them. So they need to be able to win on the road, especially where they're seated currently, to be able to move on in the playoffs. They built a team that was built to beat the Milwaukee Bucks. Right. And they did a nice job of that on Christmas. The problem is you got to get there, right? And some of these other teams have been able to feast on them, particularly on the road.
That's the soundbite of a GM who's feeling a lot of heat, who feels like he put the pieces in place and they're not living up to their end of the bargain. But to follow up on what Fizz is saying, I like Brett Brown a lot, but we're going to find out how much his message is still resonating over these next few months, because this is his last stand.
Yeah.
If he doesn't get it done now, he's gone. Somebody else is going to come in, and they're going to have to move a couple pieces on that roster, and somebody else will try to put their system in place.
Well, I know how the coaching fraternity is, so I knew which way Fizz was leaning.
No,
there's a lot of pressure out there on Brett.
It's always going to be pressure on the job. But if there's a coach that can get it done, knowing his personality, his resilience, Brett Brown is that guy. He suffered through all of those losses early on in that process to get them to where they are now, not to just watch it crumble. He is going to step up. He's going to do his part in contributing. But at the end of the day, those are two grown men that have to figure out how important is it for you to win. And they have to make that decision for themselves if they want it.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.